Well, I've been teaching at the university many decades, but the last 10 I've been honored to continue the course on the Kent State shootings. It's called May 4th and its Aftermath. It is sponsored by the Honors College. It's one of the experimental courses in the Experimental and Integrated Studies program. I've been teaching with Laura Davis. We like to contextualize the Kent State shootings in the culture of the 1960s. Is one of the things that we found when we first started teaching is that many of the students obviously were not born, weren't even thought about in 1970, and so it's very difficult because they had such a very different way of growing up, and it's difficult for them to understand the real tension between some of the generations of the 1960s and why, for example, students just didn't leave the Commons when they were told to leave.
There is a May 4th Visitor Center that's being planned for the first floor of Taylor Hall, which will put it in the heart of the historic site. And the Visitor Center is going to have a permanent exhibit, a museum-style exhibit. And that exhibit will talk about the events of May 4th in a kind of immersive experience, but wrapped around that immersive experience of what happened on that day, the event will be set in the context of its times, the decade of the 60s, which was a time of tremendous social and cultural and political change in our country. A part of the visitor center experience is to have an outdoor component that complements the indoor component, the permanent museum-style exhibit. And the outdoor component, the May 4th walking tour, will actually be in place and be dedicated on May 3rd of this year for the 40th commemoration of May 4th. The walking tour has several features. It has interpretive trail marker panels at 7 key locations within the 17-acre site. And those trail marker panels are complemented by a number of other resources. There's a walking tour brochure that has 2 maps, a locator map for the trail markers and also an illustrated map that illustrates what happened at the moment of the shootings. There are archival photographs and other kinds of commentary in the brochure about what happened on May 4th, as well as the days leading up to May 4th. Something that gets added to the experience this year is taking the long view that we now have because of the passage of 40 years and thinking about what the place of this event in history is. And we know that May 4th has a place in history. We know that because of the strong affirmation of the putting of the site on the National Register of Historic Places. The shootings, one of the immediate effects was to cause the largest national student strike in American history. We know that it changed the public's and Congress's thinking about the war in Vietnam and had other impacts as well. And it also speaks to us about the importance of respecting diversity of opinions, of points of view, of being able to engage in civil discourse, and the extreme importance of talking to each other when we have a difference of opinion, and also the importance of upholding the rights of the First Amendment. It's very difficult to hear people dissent, especially in a time of war, but that's a principle that our country is founded on. And these are universal truths. These are things that have universal meaning for citizens today, perhaps even more so than they did then. And that's what I hope that students and other members of the community reflect upon because of these new resources that are coming into being.